Not since the night her first shift was supposed to come and never did. Not since the pack healer examined her and declared that her womb was as empty and useless as the wolf that never awakened. And certainly not since Lester Carlson, the strongest warrior in their pack, and the man fate had once tied to her, stared at her with open disgust before the entire pack. His rejection still lived inside her nightmares. I, Lester Carlson, reject you, Krista Bass, as my mate. May the moon goddess have mercy on your defective bloodline. Krista did not laugh now. She simply lifted one hand to the amulet hidden beneath her threadbare dress. It was the only thing Bernard had never managed to sell, trade, or take from her. Her mother had given it to her the night she died. For 20 years, Krista had kept it hidden. It was warm against her skin, just as it had always been. A tiny comfort in a world that offered very few. They entered the castle courtyard and found chaos. Servants hurried past carrying steaming bowls of water and bundles of herbs. Guards moved constantly between the towers. A woman dressed in healer's robes emerged from a side doorway with a drained face. She looked toward the waiting guards and shook her head. Another failure. Another healer who could do nothing. Another day closer to Prince Todd's death. This way. A tall man wearing royal livery approached them. His nose wrinkled as his gaze traveled over Krista. She knew exactly what he saw. A thin woman with tangled dark hair. A dress repaired so many times that patches covered more of it than the original cloth. Bare, dirty feet after a 3-day journey. She looked exactly like what she was. A desperate father's final gamble. The Alpha King is waiting. They followed him into the castle. The corridors displayed more wealth than Krista could understand. Marble floors were polished until they reflected everything above them. Huge tapestries showed legendary battles and wolves of ancient bloodlines. Crystal chandeliers scattered light across the ceilings like fallen stars. Everything was beautiful. Everything was cold. Everything felt completely foreign. Bernard walked with his chest lifted, pretending he belonged there. Krista concentrated on not stumbling. The throne room doors opened. Her breath caught despite herself. Alpha King Raphael Thornton sat upon a throne of black iron and silver. His presence filled the chamber like a storm barely held under control. His hair, Krista noticed, had turned more gray than black. Deep lines surrounded his eyes, evidence of sleepless nights and choices no father should have been forced to make. Yet his amber eyes still carried the unmistakable power of his wolf. Beside him sat Queen Ina. She was elegant and beautiful, but grief had hollowed her expression. Her eyes were red from crying, and her hands twisted together in her lap. Bernard Bass. Raphael's voice rolled through the chamber. You claim your daughter possesses abilities. Bernard shoved Krista forward. She stumbled and barely caught herself. Yes, Alpha King. She has a gift from her mother's bloodline. Ancient healing magic passed down through. He's lying, Krista said quietly. Silence swallowed the throne room. Bernard's face darkened until it was almost purple. She could feel his fury behind her, but Krista was tired. Tired of lies. Tired of pretending. Some instinct told her she might die in this castle anyway. If that happened, she refused to die wrapped inside another one of Bernard's desperate fabrications. I have no gift, Krista continued. She raised her head and looked directly into the Alpha King's eyes. Someone of her status should never have dared. She no longer cared. I have no wolf. I cannot bear cubs. By every measure our world uses, I am worthless. Krista, Bernard growled. My father heard that you were willing to try anything to save your son, she continued. He thought perhaps even something broken like me might be worth a few coins. You insolent. Bernard lunged. His hand rose to strike her again. Raphael lifted a single finger. 2 guards moved instantly. They seized Bernard before his hand could touch Krista. Enough. The Alpha King never took his eyes from her. You possess remarkable honesty for someone in your position. Most people would lie. They would claim powers they didn't possess for the smallest chance at royal gold. I'm going to die eventually anyway, Krista said simply. I may as well do it honestly. Something shifted in Raphael's expression. Surprise, perhaps, or a reluctant kind of respect. He rose and descended from the throne with the controlled grace of a predator. You are correct about one thing. We have tried everything. He stopped before her. My son, Todd, was born wolfless, like you. Krista's attention sharpened. For 19 years, Raphael continued, we searched for a cure, a remedy, anything that could give him what the moon goddess denied him. His jaw tightened. 3 months ago, he became ill. Queen Ina lowered her eyes. Whatever kept his condition stable has broken, Raphael said. Now he is dying. Every healer has reached the same conclusion. His body is trying to shift, but there is no wolf inside him to shift into. The process is tearing him apart from within. Without thinking, Krista pressed her hand over the amulet beneath her dress. It had become hotter, much hotter. She frowned and pressed her palm against it. Raphael continued. We brought you here because the oldest records contain stories about your mother's bloodline. The Bass family once held considerable influence before it fell into poverty. There are whispers of healing abilities, magic that worked differently from the powers of wolves. I don't know anything about healing magic, Krista whispered. Her mother had died when Krista was 10. She never taught me anything except... Krista stopped. Her hand remained over the strangely heated amulet. Except what? Queen Ina asked. Hope and desperation made her voice raw. A lullaby. Krista swallowed. She sang it to me every night. The same song her mother sang to her. She told me it was important. She said I must never forget it. Krista looked between them. But it was only a song. Raphael and Ina exchanged a look. The old texts mention songs, Raphael said slowly. Incantations passed through female bloodlines, and disguised as lullabies or nursery rhymes, during the years when magic was hunted and destroyed. Queen Ina stood so quickly her chair shifted. My son is in the East Wing. He is barely conscious anymore. The pain is too great. But if there is even the smallest chance... Her voice broke. Raphael motioned to the guards. I'll take you to him. Then he looked toward Bernard. Release Bass. He can wait in the servants' quarters. Now, wait just a moment, Bernard protested. If my daughter succeeds, there is still the question of payment. The warmth disappeared from Raphael's expression. If your daughter succeeds, you will receive more gold than your pack has seen in 3 generations. Bernard's eyes widened. If she fails, I will give you enough to pay for your journey here, and not 1 coin more. Those are my terms. Accept them or leave. Bernard's mouth opened, closed. Finally, he nodded. The guards escorted him away. Krista remained alone before the Alpha King and Queen. The amulet burned hotter beneath her hand. Her heartbeat pounded hard enough that she wondered if they could hear it. Come, Raphael said, gentler now. Meet my son. They walked into a quieter section of the castle. The extravagant decorations slowly disappeared beneath the hushed atmosphere of sickness. Healers passed them with grim faces. The air smelled heavily of herbs and medicine. Beneath those scents lay something else. Something wrong. The smell of a body destroying itself from inside. They reached 2 massive doors carved with wolves running beneath a full moon. Krista could not miss the cruel irony. A room covered in wolves for a prince who would never become one. The doors opened. The curtains inside were drawn against the afternoon sun. At the center of the room stood a bed far too large for the figure lying in it. Prince Todd Hawkins. Krista stopped breathing for a moment. For some reason, she had expected a boy. The word prince had formed an image in her mind of someone young, perhaps small and innocent. Todd was 19. And he was unmistakably a man. Even weakened by illness, there was strength in the width of his shoulders, in the line of his jaw, in the shape of the hands lying motionless upon the covers. His skin was frighteningly pale. His breathing barely moved his chest, yet Krista thought he was the most beautiful person she had ever seen. Then the amulet around her neck seemed to burst into flame. Krista gasped. She clawed at her dress. There was no actual fire, but the metal seared her skin as fiercely as a brand. She yanked it free. The leather cord snapped. The amulet struck the floor and began to glow. Light pulsed inside it. Once, twice, again, exactly in rhythm with Todd's strained heartbeat. "What is that?" Raphael demanded. Krista could not answer. She was staring at Todd. Because his eyes had opened. Storm gray eyes locked directly onto hers. "You," he whispered. His voice was rough from disuse. "I've been dreaming of you." The amulet erupted with light. Radiance flooded the room. Something inside Krista cracked open, something that had been sealed away, waiting for this moment all her life. The lullaby her mother had taught her rose to her lips, and Krista began to sing. Chapter 2. When the amulet chose its healer. The lullaby poured from Krista like water through a broken dam. She could not stop it. The melody carried a power she had never known existed inside her. The words were not in any language she consciously understood, yet her tongue formed each sound perfectly. It felt as though her mind had forgotten them while her blood remembered. Benedictus. The amulet lifted from the floor. Queen Aina gasped. It hovered between Krista and Todd's bed, turning slowly in the air. With every word Krista sang, its light grew brighter. Shadows stretched across the walls and seemed almost alive. Krista felt herself being pulled forward. Her feet moved before she decided to move them. Soon she stood beside Todd's bed. One hand lifted and hovered over his chest. "What is happening?" Aina whispered. Her voice sounded distant. Krista could not have answered even if she tried. The song consumed her completely. She was no longer singing it. The song was moving through her. She was only its vessel. Her mother's voice surfaced in her memory. The same melody. Behind that voice came another. Her grandmother. Then another. And another. Generations of women Krista had never known seemed to sing through her blood. Todd never stopped looking at her. Recognition filled his storm-gray eyes. His lips moved. He tried to speak. Only a weak breath emerged. Then his back arched. His entire body convulsed. Krista stared in horror as his skin rippled and his bones shifted beneath it. "He's trying to shift," Raphael said urgently. "This happens before the worst attacks. We need to restrain him before—" Krista placed her hand against Todd's chest. His convulsions stopped. The amulet floated downward. It settled directly over his heart. The instant the metal touched his skin, glowing veins of light spread across his chest like roots searching for water. Todd gasped. His eyes rolled backward. For one terrible heartbeat, Krista believed she had killed him. Then Todd inhaled. Deeply. Fully. His chest rose with a breath unlike anything he had managed in weeks. Then another. And another. The lullaby came to an end. The light faded. The amulet cooled. Within seconds it looked like nothing more than an old piece of tarnished metal attached to a broken leather cord. Krista swayed. Exhaustion crashed over her so suddenly that she almost fell. Raphael caught her arm. "What did you do?" There was no anger in his question, only awe, and desperate hope. "I don't know," Krista whispered. Her throat felt as though she had been singing for hours. "That has never happened before. I've sung that lullaby 1,000 times, but never—" "Look at him," Aina breathed. She rushed to her son. His color. The gray pallor was retreating from Todd's skin. A healthier tone slowly replaced it. His breathing remained deep and steady. The lines of agony around his eyes softened. Then those gray eyes opened again. Clearer this time. Focused. "Mother." Aina covered her mouth. "Todd. Father. I'm here, son." Raphael moved to the opposite side of the bed, and placed a hand on Todd's shoulder. We're both here. Todd frowned, as if examining his own body from inside. How do you feel? Raphael asked. The pain. Todd took another breath. It's quieter. He closed his eyes for a moment. Not gone, but quieter. Then his gaze found Krista. Who are you? Krista opened her mouth. Nothing came. What was she supposed to say? I'm nobody. I'm broken. I'm the woman my father dragged here because your family had exhausted every better option. Raphael answered instead. This is Krista Bass. He glanced at her. She appears to possess a gift, one that is helping you. Krista, Todd repeated. Something twisted strangely inside her chest at the way he said her name. Slowly, as if tasting it, memorizing it. The woman from my dreams. Ina stared at him. You dreamed of her? For weeks. Ever since the pain became worse. Todd lifted one hand toward Krista. The effort made it tremble. I thought... He swallowed. I thought you were death coming to take me. But you're real. I'm real, Krista whispered. But I'm not death. I'm only... The amulet, Raphael interrupted. He pointed toward the object still resting on Todd's chest. May I? Krista nodded. Raphael picked it up carefully. He turned it beneath the light. Its metal was dark and tarnished, covered with symbols that appeared almost to shift whenever the eye tried to focus on them. A black stone sat at its center, threaded with thin silver lines. Those veins pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. Raphael went still. I've seen these symbols. Krista looked at him. Where? In the old records, the forbidden archives. His gaze snapped to her. Where did you get this? My mother. Krista touched the place on her chest where the amulet usually rested. She gave it to me on the night she died. She told me never to let anyone see it, never to let anyone know what I was. What did she mean? I don't know. I never understood. Krista looked toward Todd. I wore it hidden beneath my clothes for 20 years. It never did anything, not once. She gestured helplessly toward him. Not until you met my son, Raphael finished. His expression became grave. This is not merely an heirloom, Krista. This is a key. He looked down at the ancient symbols again. And I think there is something you both need to see. Ina frowned. Todd needs rest. Whatever explanation you have can wait. No. Todd tried to lift himself. He managed only a few inches before weakness forced him back. I want to know. Todd, I need to know why I'm like this, Mother. Why I have spent my entire life feeling broken. His eyes moved to Krista. And why she makes the pain stop. Raphael considered his son, then nodded. Very well, but Krista stays close. We do not know whether what happened is temporary or whether her presence is necessary to maintain it. A chair was placed beside Todd's bed. Krista sat carefully. Now she was close enough to notice individual strands of dark hair against his pillow, close enough to smell the herbs used to ease his pain, close enough for Todd to see the rope burns around her wrists. His expression changed instantly. Who hurt you? There was something dangerous beneath the weakness in his voice. Todd might have been wolfless, but he was still the Alpha King's son. No one important. Krista hid her wrists in her lap. Liar. His voice was not cruel. I've spent 19 years listening to people lie about what I am. Todd looked away. Special. Unique. Blessed by the moon goddess with a different path. His mouth twisted bitterly. Pretty words for broken. He looked back at her. Don't lie to me too. Krista held his gaze. She saw something familiar there. A desperate need for truth after a lifetime of careful half-truths. My mate rejected me, she said. Todd's expression hardened. My father tied my wrists during the journey because he thought I might run before he could sell me to your father. She lifted her scarred hands slightly. There, honest enough? Anger flashed across Todd's face. But there was something else beneath it. understanding, kinship. Your mate was a fool. My mate was practical. No, I'm wolfless, barren. I cannot give him what a mate is expected to give. Krista's voice remained flat. He was right to reject me. No, Todd repeated firmly. No, Todd repeated firmly. He wasn't. He shifted slightly. But we can argue about that later. Todd turned toward his father. The archives. Show us what you found. Raphael placed the amulet on the bedside table. Then he reached inside his jacket and removed a heavy leather-bound book. The volume was so old that its pages crackled when he opened it. 3 months ago, when Todd's illness became worse, I entered the forbidden archives. He opened to a marked page. It is the locked section where we keep writings considered too dangerous, too dark, or too controversial for general access. I was searching for anything that might help him. A legend, a myth, a single scrap of hope. Raphael turned the book so they could see. Ancient script covered the page. Beneath it, a later scholar had written a translation. Raphael read, "During the 3rd century of the Wolf Wars, the House of Thornton rose through conquest and the systematic destruction of rival bloodlines." Krista listened silently. One of the houses destroyed was the House of Bass, healers and seers who had served wolf packs for generations. Krista's heartbeat slowed. Before the last Bass matriarch was executed, she spoke a curse. Raphael continued reading. "You have taken our lives, our lands, our legacy. So too shall we take yours. Every firstborn son of Thornton blood shall be born as you have made us, powerless, wolfless, broken." Todd stared at the page. "Only through the blood you have spilled can the curse be undone. Only through the line you destroyed can healing come." Raphael's voice lowered. "This is my gift to you, Alpha King. May you choke on it." No one spoke. Only Todd's steady breathing and distant footsteps outside disturbed the silence. Krista read the passage again. Then once more. Her mind resisted its meaning. "My family cursed yours." Her voice sounded numb. "My ancestors did this to you. 5 centuries ago," Raphael confirmed. "And in every generation since, the firstborn son of the Thornton line has been born without a wolf." Todd's face remained still. "Some survived, some lost their minds. Others developed the same wasting sickness Todd has, the body attempting to shift when no wolf exists to complete the transformation. We concealed it," Raphael continued, "paid fortunes to protect the secret. If the other kingdoms learned the Alpha King's heir was wolfless, they would invade," Todd finished. "They would see the kingdom as weak." Ina looked at the ancient page. "But the curse speaks of blood, the blood of the line that was destroyed." Her gaze moved slowly toward Krista. "Does that mean—" "No," Raphael said immediately. "I kept researching." He turned several pages. Later scholars believed blood did not mean literal sacrifice. They believed it meant bloodline. Krista listened. One descendant of the Bass healing line would have to willingly help a Thornton descendant. The curse could only be broken through genuine healing, not through more violence. Todd frowned. "But the Bass family was destroyed. You just said they were executed." "Not all of them," Krista heard herself say. Her voice seemed far away. "My mother once told me that her grandmother's grandmother escaped. Everyone looked at her. She was pregnant. She ran before the executions. She hid, and something was passed through the women of the family. A song to remember," Raphael said quietly. "An amulet to protect." Krista's hand tightened. "And instructions never to reveal what you were," Raphael continued, "because a Thornton who discovered you might kill you out of fear, revenge, or the belief that destroying the Bass line entirely would end the curse another way." He looked toward her. "Your family has been hiding for 500 years, scattering farther apart, losing knowledge and power with every generation. Until my mother died," Krista whispered, "and left me with nothing except a lullaby I didn't understand and an amulet that had never worked." She felt hollow. "I'm the last one, aren't I?" No one answered immediately. The last Bass healer. Krista touched her chest. That's why my wolf never came. Why I can't bear cubs. All that power, all that magic. Her gaze moved toward Todd. Something similar was dawning in his face. They were two pieces of an ancient conflict. His ancestors had destroyed hers. Her ancestors had cursed his. 5 centuries later, what remained of those two lines had been brought into the same room, a wolfless prince, a healer who had spent her life believing she was powerless, connected by old blood, hatred neither had created, and a desperate hope neither fully understood. I don't want you to die. Todd's sudden words startled her. He looked at Krista with surprising urgency. Whatever this curse requires, whatever healing me costs, I won't let it kill you. You don't even know me. I've been dreaming about you for weeks. Todd's voice weakened, but his gaze remained steady. I heard your voice singing while I slept. I felt your presence like a promise that perhaps I would survive. He paused. And now you're standing here, real, looking at me without pity, like you understand what it means to be called worthless every day of your life. Todd drew another careful breath. So no, I don't know your favorite color. I don't know what makes you laugh. I don't know what you want from your life. His fingers tightened slightly on the blanket. But I know I do not want you dying to save me. There has to be another way. Perhaps there is, Raphael said. He studied the text. The scholars who examined this curse never fully understood it. The Bass matriarch made her wording deliberately obscure. He repeated one line. Only through the blood you have spilled can the curse be undone. Raphael frowned. It might not mean Krista must die. Maybe it means I have to stay, Krista said. Everyone looked toward her. Maybe the healing isn't one sacrifice. Maybe it requires time, proximity, repeated rituals. She met Todd's eyes. Maybe I have to sing to you every day until the curse breaks. How long? Ina asked. Raphael shook his head. The texts do not say. Weeks, months, perhaps longer. Then she stays. Todd spoke with sudden firmness. As long as necessary. Then he stopped. The command softened as he seemed to remember he had just ordered a stranger to reorganize her entire life. If you're willing, he added. Krista looked at him. I know you did not choose any of this. You did not choose to be dragged here. You did not choose to become responsible for a dying prince and a 500-year-old curse. He swallowed. If you want the gold my father promised and a chance to build another life far away, I will understand. His storm-gray eyes held hers. But I'm asking you, Todd's voice lowered, begging you, please stay. Krista thought about what waited outside the castle. A pack that had rejected her. A mate who had discarded her. A father who had sold her like livestock. She remembered the tiny cottage where she had lived alone for 5 years. The pitying stares. Children throwing stones and calling her hollow womb. Every morning spent waking in a world that insisted she had no purpose, no worth, no reason to exist. Then she looked at Todd, broken in a way she understood. Cursed by something he had never chosen. Looking at her as though she were suddenly the most important person in his world. I'll stay. Todd went completely still. I'll sing the lullaby every night. Krista held his gaze. We'll break this together. Todd reached out. His hand trembled. Krista took it without thinking. Warmth spread through her where their skin touched. It was different from the burning heat of the amulet. Gentler. Almost like coming home. Together, Todd agreed. His fingers closed around hers. On the bedside table, the amulet gave one faint pulse of light, as if sealing an agreement 5 centuries in the making. Chapter 3. Singing Life into Death. Krista was given a room 3 doors from Todd's chambers. It was larger than the entire cottage where she had lived for the previous 5 years. The bed looked so soft that she was almost afraid to sit on it. Servants brought clean clothing, simple dresses in muted colors, but made from fabric finer than anything she had ever owned. Hot water arrived for bathing. scented oils, and a tray of food large enough to have fed her for a week back in her pack. Krista touched nothing. She stood at the window instead, watching the sun lower beyond the castle grounds. She tried to understand what had happened in only a few hours. That morning she had been worthless, a burden her father wanted to sell. Now she was apparently connected to a 500-year-old healing bloodline and might be the only person capable of saving the dying prince. "It's too much," she whispered to her reflection. "I'm going to fail." Her fingers tightened against the window frame. "I'm going to do something wrong. He'll die, and it will be my fault." A knock startled her. "Miss Bass?" A young female voice came through the door. "May I enter?" "Yes." A girl stepped inside. She could not have been older than 16. Bright red hair was braided down her back, and nervous green eyes studied Krista before she gave an awkward curtsy. "I'm Noel May, miss. I've been assigned as your lady's maid. I'm supposed to help you dress and with anything else you need." "I don't need a maid," Krista said automatically. Noel's face fell. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll tell the head housekeeper you don't want. Wait." Krista softened her voice. She recognized the expression on Noel's face. Fear of failure. Fear of being sent away. Fear of not being good enough. "I didn't mean that I don't want your help." "Stay silent." Noel stopped. "I meant I'm not used to anyone waiting on me. I don't know how any of this works." The girl brightened. "Oh, that's all right, miss. I can teach you. The rules of the castle, protocols, things like that." "Would that be helpful?" "Very." Krista pointed toward the untouched food. "For example, am I actually supposed to eat that, or was someone simply required to put it there?" "You're meant to eat it." She uncovered the dishes. "The cook made extra because the Alpha King said you had traveled for several days without proper meals. There's roast chicken, fresh bread, vegetables with cream sauce, and apple tart." Krista's stomach growled loudly. She flushed. She could not remember when she had last eaten anything more substantial than old bread and cheese. "It seems like too much for one person." "You need your strength," Noel said firmly. "If you're going to help Prince Todd, you need proper food." The girl looked at her. "You're too thin, miss, if you don't mind me saying so." Krista did mind slightly, mostly because it was true. She sat and forced herself to take one bite of chicken. Flavor flooded her mouth, rich, savory, so good that she almost made a sound aloud. Only then did she realize how hungry she truly was. "How is he?" she asked after several bites. "The prince. I haven't heard anything since I left his room." Noel immediately brightened. "That's all anyone in the castle is talking about." Krista stopped eating. "He sat up for dinner." "What?" "Sat up by himself, and he ate an entire meal without becoming sick." Noel leaned closer. "The physicians are calling it a miracle. They say he already looks better than he has in months." Then her voice dropped conspiratorially. "Some of the servants are saying you're a sorceress, that you use dark magic. And what do you think?" Noel considered the question. "I think Prince Todd has been dying for as long as I've worked here." She shrugged. "And I think you sang a song, held a necklace, and now he isn't dying as quickly." A tiny smile appeared. "So if that is dark magic, I'm grateful for it. The prince is kind. He doesn't deserve what has happened to him." Something inside Krista loosened. "No," she said softly. "He doesn't." After eating until she could not manage another bite, Krista allowed Noel to help her into a soft cotton nightgown. The fabric felt almost like wearing a cloud. Noel patiently brushed the tangles from Krista's hair. No one had cared for her like this in years. Not from obligation, not while complaining about the burden. Simply with gentleness. Krista blinked back tears. "There," Noel said when she finished. "You look like a proper lady." She held up the brush. "Would you like me to braid it for sleeping?" "Please." As Noel worked, Krista asked, "When am I supposed to see Prince Todd tomorrow? For the next ritual, or whatever this is?" "The Alpha King wants to meet you after breakfast. He's bringing the royal scholars. Krista stiffened. They want to study the amulet and ask about your family. And then? You'll see Prince Todd in the afternoon. Krista twisted her fingers together. They want to study me like some strange animal. Can you blame them? Noel asked gently. You're the first Bass descendant they've found in centuries, and the first person who has ever helped the prince. She tied off the braid. They're curious, yes, but they're desperate too. The entire kingdom needs him to survive. He's the only heir. No pressure then. Noel turned to face her. You're afraid. Terrified. Krista did not bother pretending. What if today was luck? What if I can't do it again? What if whatever happened stops working? What if I make him worse? Then you try again, Noel said. Krista looked up. That's all anyone can do, miss. Try, fail, try again. Noel smiled. And you won't be alone. The castle will be supporting you. She hesitated. Me included. Krista gave her a small, uncertain smile. Thank you, Noel. You should sleep now. Tomorrow will be long. After Noel left, Krista lay in the enormous bed and stared at the ceiling. Sleep did not come. Her mind was too full. She kept remembering Todd's face, the hope in his eyes, the strength in his voice when he had said together. She was still awake when someone knocked close to midnight. Miss Bass? A male voice. Krista sat upright immediately. The prince is asking for you. She reached the door within seconds. Is something wrong? Is he? The guard looked apologetic. He is stable, miss, but he cannot sleep. The pain is returning. Krista's stomach dropped. He asked if you might come, if you are willing. Krista snatched up her shawl and the amulet from the bedside table. Take me to him. Todd's room was lit by only a few candles. He shifted restlessly beneath the covers, jaw clenched. Sweat covered his forehead. The instant he heard Krista enter, his eyes opened. Krista. Relief filled his voice so clearly that she felt it inside her chest. I'm sorry. I know it's the middle of the night. You need rest, but A spasm cut him off. His entire body tightened. Don't apologize. Krista hurried to the chair beside his bed. What do you need? The song. He forced the words through clenched teeth. Please. It isn't as bad as before, but I can feel it beneath everything. His breath shook, trying to tear me apart. Todd looked at her. Your voice helps. Krista placed the amulet over his chest. It began glowing immediately, as if it recognized their proximity. She took Todd's hand. His fingers closed around hers automatically, almost desperately. Then Krista sang. Salvador or Fractum. The ancient words came more easily now. Her body seemed to remember how to channel them. Almost immediately, Todd's breathing slowed. Tension left his muscles. His grip softened. His thumb moved unconsciously across Krista's knuckles. She sang every verse she remembered, then began again, and again. She turned the lullaby into a continuous circle of sound. Todd's face gradually relaxed. Peace replaced pain. Watching him, Krista remembered how young he truly was. 19. 19 years spent knowing he was different, knowing he could not fulfill the expectations placed upon him. Living in fear of a body that had never worked the way everyone said it should. Just like her. Better? She asked during a pause. Much. Todd opened his eyes. You have a beautiful voice. Krista almost laughed. Has anyone ever told you that? No. The laugh that escaped her was bitter. Usually people ask me to stop singing. They say it makes them uncomfortable, because they could feel the power in it. Krista studied him. What? Even when you didn't know what you were doing, they probably sensed something ancient in your voice. Todd's eyes remained on hers. Something powerful, something they couldn't understand. Does it scare you? No. His answer was immediate. Certain. Nothing about you scares me. Krista's breath caught. You're the first thing in my life that has ever felt right. Todd searched for the words. like a missing piece finally falling into place. I feel it too, Krista admitted. Her voice dropped. Like I've spent my whole life waiting to meet you. She shook her head. Which is ridiculous. We met this afternoon. Maybe it isn't. Todd looked toward the glowing amulet. My dreams began weeks before you arrived. He returned his gaze to her. What if we were calling to each other somehow, before we even knew the other existed? The curse trying to break itself, Krista murmured, drawing us together. Magic doesn't work like that. How do you know? Todd's question was gentle. Krista had no answer. What did she actually know about magic? About curses? Ancient bloodlines? Nothing. We're already in territory no one understands, Todd said. Two wolfless people in a world built around wolves, connected by a curse that began 5 centuries ago. A faint smile touched his mouth. Maybe ordinary rules don't apply to us. The amulet pulsed. Soft, steady, like another heartbeat between them. Without intending to, Krista leaned closer. Todd noticed. His eyes darkened with an emotion she could not quite identify. Sing again, he whispered. Please. So she did. Krista sang until her voice weakened, until Todd's breathing deepened into sleep, until the candles burned low and dawn began touching the sky. Her hand remained in his. His never released hers. When Noelle found Krista still sitting beside Todd's bed at sunrise, the young maid smiled knowingly. She said nothing. She simply brought fresh clothes and helped Krista change in the adjoining dressing room. Then she braided Krista's hair while Todd continued sleeping peacefully. He looks different, Noelle whispered. Krista turned. More color, less pain. He's healing. Krista felt certain of it now. Slowly, but it's working. Good. Noel's voice was firm. The kingdom needs him. Then she hesitated. And I think he needs you. Krista looked at her. Not only your healing, Noelle clarified. You. Someone who understands what he feels. Krista did not know how to answer. She looked toward Todd. His hand still rested on the place where hers had been. Hope moved inside her chest. Dangerous hope. Later that morning, she met Alpha King Raphael and the royal scholars. The meeting was every bit as intimidating as she had feared. They gathered in a private study filled with ancient books and artifacts. 5 elderly scholars studied Krista with the intensity of people examining something thought extinct. The oldest among them was a woman named Gail Hudson. Her gray eyes were sharp. Tell us about your mother. Krista shifted in her chair. Everything you remember, her appearance, her abilities, anything she told you about your family. My mother was beautiful. Krista swallowed. Dark hair like mine, green eyes. She searched her memories. She could grow things. I never saw anything I would have called magic, but plants responded to her. Anything she touched seemed to flourish. She made salves and medicinal teas for our pack. They barely paid her. Did she have a wolf? Another scholar asked. Krista hesitated. I don't think so. She frowned. I never saw her shift, but she died when I was 10. I assumed I simply didn't remember. She was probably wolfless, Gail said. Her expression suggested the answer confirmed something. In the Bass bloodline, traditional wolf magic and healing magic are incompatible, one or the other. Krista looked at her. Your ancestors chose healing, Gail continued. The cost was their wolves. That is why the curse worked, Raphael said from beside the window. The Bass matriarch condemned every Thornton firstborn son to the exact state her bloodline lived with by choice. Wolfless, Krista whispered. Poetic justice from her perspective, Raphael said. She wanted us to experience what we had destroyed. But why make children pay for it? Krista looked between the scholars. Why curse generations who had nothing to do with what happened? Gail's expression became grave. Because that is precisely what happened to the Bass family. Krista went still. When the Thorntons destroyed your ancestors, They did not kill only the adults. Gale's voice softened. They killed the children as well. Entire family lines disappeared. Silence settled across the room. The matriarch made certain the Thorntons would understand that grief, generation after generation. Krista thought of Todd, born into a punishment for something committed 500 years before he existed. The unfairness burned through her. How do we end it? She looked directly at Gale. I can use the amulet. I can sing. It helps him. But is that enough? The scholars exchanged looks. We do not know, one admitted. The surviving texts are incomplete, probably intentionally. Gale folded her hands. But fragments suggest the healing requires time, proximity. She paused. And connection. Krista frowned. What kind of connection? Emotional. Gale's gaze held hers. The curse was created from hatred and grief. It may only be broken by their opposites. Love, Krista whispered. Not necessarily romantic love, Gale answered immediately. Genuine care, compassion. A willingness to sacrifice for another person. She gestured toward the amulet. The lullaby channels the healing power. Emotion appears to fuel it. Krista felt overwhelmed. So I have to care about him for it to work? You already do, Raphael said. She looked sharply toward him. I saw you when the guard came for you last night. You did not ask what reward you would receive. Raphael's expression softened. You came because Todd was hurting. He was in pain, Krista replied defensively. Of course I came. Exactly. Raphael's answer was quiet. That is the connection. Krista stood abruptly. This is too much. She needed movement. Air. Distance from everyone's staring eyes. You're asking me to do what? Fall in love with a prince I met yesterday? No, Gale said. No one can order that. Then what? We are explaining what the magic appears to require. Gale's expression remained calm. If you want to truly heal him, rather than simply relieve the symptoms, you must allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to connect. Stop keeping him at a distance. I don't keep people at a distance. Don't you? Raphael asked. Krista looked at him. You've been rejected, hurt, told you were worthless. His voice was not accusing. You built walls because walls kept you safe. Krista's throat tightened. But those same walls may prevent this healing from becoming complete. Raphael took one step closer. You have to let Todd inside them. And if I can't? Her question was barely audible. What if I'm too broken? Then we search for another way, Raphael said firmly. But I don't believe you are broken. He paused. I think you may be exactly what my son needs. Krista wanted to argue, wanted to run from the room and every impossible expectation inside it. Then she remembered Todd's hand around hers throughout the night. The way he had said together. The strange relief of looking at someone and realizing he understood. I'll try. I can't promise anything, but I'll try. That is all anyone asks, Raphael said. She spent the rest of that day with Todd. To her surprise, it was easy. They talked. His childhood, her mother, books they had both read, dreams neither had told anyone else. Todd made her laugh with dry observations about royal politics. Krista made him smile with stories of her disastrous attempts to learn how to cook. Every few hours, she sang. The amulet glowed. Power moved from her into him. And every time, Todd appeared stronger. His pain faded further. His movements became easier. I can feel something happening, he told her near sunset. Not only the pain disappearing. He touched his chest. Something inside me feels stronger, like a part of me has been asleep for 19 years and is finally waking. Your wolf? Hope brightened Krista's voice. Maybe, Todd considered it, or perhaps simply me, the person I was supposed to become before the curse stopped everything. He reached toward her. Krista gave him her hand without hesitation. Thank you. For what? Staying. His thumb moved across her fingers. Trying. He smiled faintly. And not treating me like I'm made of glass. You aren't made of glass. Krista's answer came quickly. You're stronger than almost anyone I've known. You survived 19 years of something that would have destroyed most people. Todd looked at her carefully. So did you. Krista frowned. You survived in a world that told you every day that your existence had no value. His expression softened. That sounds like its own kind of curse. Maybe we're both cursed, Krista said. Maybe. Todd's thumb traced a slow pattern over her palm. And maybe we're healing each other. Warmth traveled from his touch into her chest. I'd like that, he said. Being healed by you. His storm-gray eyes held hers. And helping you heal in return. The amulet glowed faintly beside them. Krista realized something unexpected. She was no longer afraid. Not of the magic. Not of the curse. Not even of the feelings beginning to form whenever Todd looked at her. Perhaps the scholars were right. Perhaps breaking the curse required her to stop treating hope like an enemy. Sing for me? Todd asked. Krista smiled. Then she began the lullaby. Healing light slowly filled the room. Chapter 4. The Invisible Thread Between Broken Souls. 2 weeks passed in a rhythm that almost felt peaceful. Krista woke in her chambers each morning. She ate breakfast with Noelle, who supplied an endless stream of castle gossip. Then Krista spent the morning with the scholars in the library. Together they studied everything they could find about the Bass bloodline, the ancient curse, and what might ultimately be required to end it. Afternoons and evenings belonged to Todd. Their companionship became so natural that it frightened Krista sometimes. Todd was intelligent, curious, and surprisingly funny. His dry humor caught her off guard. He asked about her life before the castle. Not polite questions. Real ones. What had hurt her? What kept her alive? What did she dream about when no one was listening? Slowly, Krista answered. Lester was my fated mate, she told Todd one afternoon. Todd was now strong enough to remain sitting for hours. He could even walk around his chambers without immediately losing his breath. His improvement was undeniable. Still, he needed the rituals. And Krista's presence. I felt the bond when I turned 18, she continued. Like lightning through my veins. She looked at her hands. This complete certainty that he was mine and I was his. But you hadn't shifted yet, Todd said. No. Krista's fingers twisted. When the shift never came, the pack healer examined me. She swallowed. She announced in front of everyone that I was barren. Todd's jaw tightened. Lester looked at me as though I had betrayed him. Krista stared at the floor. Like I had deliberately become defective simply to ruin the future he imagined. What happened? He rejected me 2 days later. Privately. Krista gave him a humorless smile. In front of the entire pack. Todd's hands closed into fists. He said he deserved a mate who could give him strong cubs. Her voice dropped. Not a hollow shell pretending to be a woman. Todd's expression turned dangerous. I would very much like to meet Lester. Krista almost smiled. You don't have a wolf to fight him. I don't need a wolf to make a man regret his decisions. The darkness in Todd's voice made her strangely touched. Then his expression softened. How did you survive the rejection? Krista was quiet. I've read about rejected mate bonds. The pain can be unbearable. It was. She nodded. For weeks I felt like I was dying. Her fingers touched her chest. Like something essential had been torn out. And then? Eventually it became a dull ache. She considered. Then nothing. What do you feel now when you think of him? Krista searched for the word. Relief. Todd waited. Relief that I'm not tied to someone who saw me as a way to produce children, before he saw me as a person. Good. Todd spoke with absolute certainty. You deserve better. Heat touched Krista's cheeks. You deserve someone who actually sees you. Todd. Someone who understands how extraordinary you are. I'm not extraordinary. I'm just... Don't. His interruption was gentle. Don't make yourself smaller. Todd looked directly at her. You are the last descendant of an ancient healing bloodline. You're breaking a curse that has tormented my family for 5 centuries. You could have accepted my father's gold and left. His voice grew rougher. Instead, you sit here every night and sing until your throat hurts. You drain yourself to keep me alive. He shook his head. That is extraordinary, Krista. Accept it. Something inside her gave way. A wall she had never realized remained standing. You make me feel like I matter, she whispered. Like my life has a purpose. Your life always mattered. Todd's answer was immediate. You couldn't see it, because everyone around you worked very hard to convince you otherwise. He leaned closer. You are not small. His voice lowered. You're powerful, brave, kind. And I. Todd stopped. He looked away. And you what? Krista asked. He remained silent for several seconds. Then his voice became carefully neutral. I'm grateful. Krista watched him. For everything you're doing, for giving me the possibility of a real life. That had not been what he intended to say. Krista knew it. But she did not push. Whatever was forming between them was delicate. Both of them were learning how to exist inside it. Rushing could destroy something before it had time to become real. Tell me about the dreams, Krista said instead. Todd visibly relaxed. The dreams you had before I arrived. Yes. He leaned back. They began about a month before you came. At first there was only a voice. Todd's eyes went distant. A woman singing words I couldn't understand. Did it help? It always made the pain easier. He nodded. Eventually the voice became a figure. Could you see her? Never clearly. Todd looked at Krista. She remained in shadow, dark hair, pale skin, sad eyes. His mouth tightened. I kept trying to move closer, but I always woke before I saw her face. That sounds disturbing. It was. Todd gave a quiet laugh. I thought I was losing my mind. Or the pain was creating something comforting because reality had nothing left to offer. His expression changed. Then you walked into my room. And? I knew. Krista's heartbeat quickened. That was the face from the dreams. Todd's voice softened. That was the voice. The curse. Krista murmured. It must have connected us before we met. Perhaps. Todd tilted his head. Or fate. Krista looked at him. Not everything has to belong to the curse. Todd smiled faintly. Maybe some part of me simply knew you were important. His eyes held hers. Knew I needed you. The amulet on the bedside table pulsed. It had begun doing that occasionally, even when Krista was not actively using it, almost as though it responded to their closeness. I should practice the ritual. Krista stood. Gale says the more often I channel the power, the stronger my control becomes. We're supposed to do at least 2 sessions today. Always so romantic, Todd teased. But he moved over on the bed. Krista had begun sitting beside him during rituals rather than in the chair. The scholars had discovered that proximity strengthened the magic. The closer Krista and Todd were, the more easily the healing flowed. She sat. Their shoulders touched. Krista placed the amulet over his heart. Light appeared immediately. Ready? Always. Todd took her hand. Their fingers intertwined. Krista began singing. Power moved through her more easily every day. The ancient words no longer felt foreign. She could not translate each one, but she understood their meaning instinctively. Mending broken hearts, healing divided souls, blessing what had been cursed, finding what had been lost. The amulet brightened in rhythm with Todd's heart. Krista felt the connection deepen. Her energy moved into him. Something from Todd flowed back. Gratitude, wonder, trust. It was intimate in a way that had nothing to do with physical desire. It felt like souls touching. When the song ended, neither spoke immediately. Both breathed as though they had been running. The amulet dimmed slowly. The connection is stronger every time, Todd finally said. His voice sounded rough. I can feel you, even when we aren't doing the ritual now. Krista looked at him. Like you live somewhere inside my chest. I feel it too. She hesitated. Like there's a thread joining us. Todd became completely still. I know when you're hurting before anyone tells me. Krista continued. I know when you're happy, frustrated, afraid. The mate bond, Todd whispered. Krista's head snapped toward him. What? That's what you're describing. He looked almost stunned. My parents have explained it to me before. Constant awareness of the other person. Emotions crossing distance. Krista shook her head. That isn't possible. The scholars said the healing requires emotional connection. Todd's storm-gray eyes searched her face. What if breaking the curse is creating a mate bond between us? No. Krista said it automatically. Mate bonds are chosen by the moon goddess. Magic cannot manufacture one. According to whom? Todd. Ancient curses were supposed to be myths too. He gestured toward himself. And yet here I am. Krista could hear her own heart. What if the curse and the cure are opposite halves of the same thing? Todd continued. What created the curse? Hatred. And what breaks it? Connection. Todd's voice lowered. What if it requires the deepest connection two people can possess? Krista barely breathed. If that's true, then we're mates, Todd finished. Bound by magic, a curse, and 5 centuries of waiting. He watched her. Fate. Coincidence. Design. Does the name matter? Todd pressed his hand against his chest. I feel you. His gaze did not waver. This pull toward you. This certainty. He swallowed. That you're mine and I'm yours. Tell me you don't feel it. Krista should have denied everything. She should have blamed forced proximity, shared fear, the desperate need of 2 damaged people to find comfort somewhere. She should have protected herself. Instead, she looked into Todd's eyes and felt that invisible thread tighten. I feel it. The words were barely more than breath. I've felt something since the first moment I saw you. Todd moved closer. But I can't be your mate. His expression changed. You're a prince. Krista forced herself to continue. You need someone who can give you heirs, someone who can build alliances, someone who understands court politics. Krista, I'm a barren, wolfless nobody from a pack that barely tolerated me. Stop. Todd turned fully toward her. Both hands rose to hold her face. Stop telling yourself you are not enough. Krista froze. Stop repeating the lies Lester told you. His voice became stronger. Your father, your pack, everyone who needed you to believe you were less than them. Todd's thumbs rested against her cheeks. You are healing me. You are breaking a curse. You are powerful, brave, beautiful. His eyes never left hers. And I do not care if you can give me heirs. Tears burned behind Krista's eyes. I care that you make me laugh. I care that you understand what being broken feels like. I care that when you sing, I believe I might survive. Todd leaned closer. That matters. Your father will never accept it. Krista's voice trembled. The kingdom needs an heir. Let me worry about my father. Todd's forehead nearly touched hers. Right now there is only you and me. This bond. This moment. He paused. Can we have that? Can we feel whatever this is without kingdoms and heirs and expectations standing between us? Krista knew she should say no. She should remain his healer. Nothing more. Protect her heart. Remember how rejection felt. But the thread between them tightened. She leaned into his hands. Her eyes closed. Yes. Just for now. Todd rested his forehead against hers. They breathed together. The amulet pulsed once, twice, 3 times. Like a heartbeat approving something neither of them understood. Their peace lasted 4 more days. Krista should have known it could not continue. She had become comfortable with Todd improving, with their easy rhythm, with the way he looked at her as though she had hung the moon herself. She was in the library with Gale when Noel rushed inside. The young maid's face was white. "Miss Krista." Krista stood immediately. "Come quickly." "What happened?" "It's the prince." Krista was already moving. She ran through the castle. Protocol did not matter, neither did dignity. Todd needed her. She burst into his chamber. Chaos waited inside. Todd was on the floor. His body convulsed so violently that several physicians stood helplessly around him. His back arched. His bones cracked. Patches of fur appeared across his skin and vanished again. His face shifted between human and something that never completely formed. The half-shift. The thing that had been killing him. What happened? Krista dropped beside him. "We don't know," one physician said. "He was well this morning, then the pain returned and he collapsed." "Where's the amulet?" "Here." Raphael appeared and placed it in her hand. "We tried putting it on him. Without you, nothing happened." Krista pressed it against Todd's chest. His eyes flew open. Wild. Unfocused. More animal than human. He did not seem to recognize her. "Todd." Krista poured command into her voice. "Look at me." "Nothing." "Todd." She leaned closer. "Focus on me." His eyes found hers. Some of the wildness retreated. Krista began to sing. Loudly. Strongly. She pushed everything she had through the amulet. Slowly, Todd's convulsions weakened. But they did not stop. His body continued trying to become something it could not become. The fur disappeared. His eyes remained amber rather than gray. Claws formed at the ends of his fingers, vanished, then returned. "It isn't enough," Gale said from the doorway. Krista kept singing. "What do I do? The curse is fighting back." Gale's face was grave. "It knows the healing is weakening it. It's surging before you can finish." "What do I do?" "More power." Krista looked at her. "You have to give him more." Gale hesitated. "But it will drain you badly. You could—" "I don't care." Krista's interruption cut through the room. "Tell me how." Gale swallowed. "Blood. Your blood added to the ritual creates the most direct connection to your power." Krista did not hesitate. She grabbed a letter opener from Todd's desk. The blade cut across her palm. Pain flashed. Blood rose instantly. Krista pressed her bleeding hand over the amulet against Todd's chest, then sang. Power exploded through her. The force was almost painful. The amulet became so bright that everyone else turned away. Todd screamed. The sound was half human, half wolf. His body arched once, then fell completely still. For one horrible second, Krista believed she had killed him. "Todd?" His chest rose. A deep breath. Then another. His eyes opened. Gray again. Human. Himself. Krista. Todd covered her bloody hand with his. "I'm here." Her voice sounded distant. The room began spinning. Darkness crept inward from the edges of her vision. She had given too much. She knew it before anyone said anything. "Someone catch her!" Gale shouted. Krista fell. Todd called her name. Then everything disappeared. When she woke, she was in her own bed. Noel sat nearby embroidering. The maid jumped upright. "Miss." Relief flooded her face. "Thank the goddess." "You're awake." Krista tried to sit. Her entire body felt impossibly heavy. "You've been asleep for 2 days." 2 days? Don't move." Noel pushed her gently back toward the pillows. The physician said complete rest. She looked close to tears. "You nearly died." Krista barely heard her. "Todd." "What? Is Todd alive?" "He's fine." Noel answered immediately. "Better than fine." Krista's body relaxed. "He has been demanding to see you since you collapsed. The Alpha King refused. He said you needed rest without Todd disturbing you. Relief washed through her. Alive. Todd was alive. Nothing else mattered. There is something else. Noel looked uncertain. Krista's stomach tightened. While you were unconscious. The maid took a breath. Prince Todd's wolf emerged. Krista stared at her. What? Only for a moment. Noel leaned forward. He was so distressed about you that he partially shifted. Black fur, amber eyes. Her own eyes shone. It lasted seconds, but he shifted, miss. The first time in his life. Krista's eyes filled. The curse is breaking. Noel nodded. Whatever you did is working. Tears slipped toward Krista's temples. Every pain, every risk, every drop of energy she had given. Worth it. Todd was truly healing. There's more, Noel said. Something in her tone made Krista's relief disappear. The Alpha King sent for another healer from a neighboring kingdom. What healer? A woman from a distant bass branch. Krista stopped breathing. They found another bass? Her name is Amy Jang. Noel lowered her voice. The scholars say her ancestors escaped east rather than west. She has the healing magic too. Krista tried to sit again. And Noel looked uncomfortable. She's beautiful. What? Educated. Well-spoken. Everything people expect a prince's consort to be. Noel grimaced. The Alpha King is considering letting her continue your work while you recover. No. Krista swung her legs toward the edge of the bed. Her body immediately protested. No, she can't. Miss. The bond. Krista looked at Noel. Todd and I are connected. Another healer might interfere with it. I know. Noel reached for her. But you're in no condition to argue with the Alpha King. He thinks he's protecting you. Krista stared toward the door, but she knew what this looked like. A more suitable healer. A woman from her bloodline who possessed knowledge Krista did not. Someone elegant enough to stand beside a prince without embarrassing the throne. Someone who was not Krista. I need to see Todd. Miss, you can barely stand. Then help me. No. Krista looked directly at Noel. Either help me walk or I will crawl. But I'm going to him. Noel bit her lip, then nodded. At least let me dress you properly. She began gathering clothes. If you're going to fight for him, you should look the part. As Noel helped Krista into a simple but elegant dress, Krista felt the invisible thread inside her chest. Todd. Close. Afraid. His anxiety traveled through their connection until it felt like her own. She could sense his desperation to reach her. The mate bond. It was no longer a theory. Krista felt it fully now, undeniably. And if Alpha King Raphael believed another healer could simply sever it, he was about to discover how fiercely a bass protected what belonged to her. Krista was finished allowing other people to dictate her worth. Todd was hers. Chosen by magic, by the curse, by something even deeper, and she would not surrender him without fighting. Chapter 5. A beautiful threat arrives. Krista made it only halfway down the corridor before her legs failed. Noel caught her. Despite her small size, the maid managed to brace Krista against the wall. You can't do this, miss. Noel sounded desperate. You're going to collapse again. Then I'll collapse in front of Todd. Krista fought for breath. At least he'll know I tried to reach him. The bond pulled inside her chest. Todd's emotions churned through it. Frustration, fear, anger, and beneath everything, a desperate need to see Krista alive. She tried to send reassurance back. At least let me bring a wheelchair, Noel pleaded. There's no shame in... There you are. Both women turned. A woman stood at the far end of the corridor. Krista knew immediately. Amy Jang. Noel had not exaggerated. Amy was tall and elegant. Glossy black hair fell in perfect waves down her back. Every feature suggested carefully maintained nobility. Her burgundy dress probably cost more than all the clothing Krista had owned in her entire life. Amy moved with the confidence of a woman who had never been taught that she was insufficient. You must be Krista Bass. She approached wearing a smile that never reached her eyes. I have heard so much about you. Krista straightened, despite Noel supporting her. The Alpha King speaks very highly of your dedication to Prince Todd. Does he? Oh yes. Amy's gaze moved over Krista's pale face, trembling hands, and weakened body. He is extremely grateful. Her smile widened slightly. That is why he is concerned about your health. I'm fine. You've given far too much of yourself. Amy's tone sounded sympathetic. It's admirable, truly. Then she tilted her head. But reckless. I did what was necessary to save Todd. Of course. Amy nodded. And now it is time to allow someone else to carry part of that burden. Krista's stomach tightened. I have already met Prince Todd. The bond inside Krista went taut. Such a lovely young man, Amy continued. Quite handsome despite his condition. She seemed pleased by Krista's reaction. I assured him that I'm fully capable of continuing the healing while you recover. The connection in Krista's chest suddenly pulled. Todd was moving, coming closer. Krista could feel it. How did he respond? She asked. Amy gave a carefully casual shrug. He was polite. Something smug entered her expression. Reserved, naturally, but I sensed his gratitude. He understands his father simply wants him to receive the best possible care. I am the best possible care. Krista did not care how arrogant it sounded. Todd and I have a bond. The healing responds to it. Another Bass healer will not have that. Ah, Amy smiled. The famous bond. Her disbelief was unmistakable. The Alpha King mentioned that you might make that argument. Krista's jaw tightened. But bonds can form from time and proximity, can't they? Amy folded her hands. Perhaps what you feel is not destiny. Perhaps it is familiarity. It's more than that. Is it? Doubt slipped into Krista despite herself. What if Amy was right? What if she and Todd were only two frightened, broken people who had clung to one another because neither had anyone else? Footsteps interrupted them. A young guard rushed down the corridor. Miss Krista! He stopped, slightly breathless. The prince is asking for you. Krista immediately pushed away from the wall. Where? The West Gallery. The guard looked uncomfortable. He refuses to return to his rooms until he sees you. Relief and worry collided inside her. Take me to him. The Alpha King gave strict orders. I don't care. Krista's voice sharpened. Take me to Prince Todd. The guard looked at her, then Amy, then Noel. Finally he nodded. This way. Noel helped Krista follow him. As they left, Krista could feel Amy staring after her, measuring, calculating. Amy Jang was not merely another healer. She was a rival, and she had the Alpha King's support. The West Gallery was lined with portraits of Thornton ancestors. Todd stood near a tall window at the far end. His shoulders were rigid. He turned the moment Krista entered. Relief transformed his face. Krista. He crossed the distance quickly. He reached for her, then stopped himself. You're awake. His eyes swept over her. How are you? Should you even be out of bed? I'm fine. It was an obvious lie. I needed to see you. Todd frowned. You're pale. You're shaking. His voice tightened. You nearly died because of me. And my father wants to. His jaw clenched. He wants Amy to replace you. Krista said nothing. He says you need rest, that I'm draining you, that what we're doing cannot continue. Todd looked furious. What do you want? Krista asked softly. He met her gaze instantly. You. Only you. Krista's heartbeat changed. The bond between us cannot be copied. Todd stepped closer. I told my father. He thinks I'm confused. He thinks I'm mistaking gratitude for something deeper. Amy said the same thing. Amy is wrong. Todd's voice hardened. I know what I feel. He placed a hand over his heart. You're here. Krista watched him. Constant. Undeniable. When you collapsed, I felt it. His expression twisted with the memory. Your pain, your fear, your life force becoming weaker. Todd swallowed. It felt like watching a flame almost disappear. It nearly destroyed me. I felt you shift, Krista whispered. Todd froze. I felt your fear, your wonder, the triumph. She pressed a hand to her own chest. All of it. Todd nodded. That is not ordinary familiarity. His voice lowered. That is a mate bond. He moved closer. My father could bring 100 healers from 100 branches of the Bass family, but none of them will have this. His storm-gray eyes held hers. None of them will be you. Someone cleared his throat behind them. Krista and Todd turned. Alpha King Raphael stood at the entrance. Amy was beside him, perfectly composed. I see you found one another, Raphael said, despite my very clear instruction that Krista remain in bed. With respect, Father, your instruction was wrong. Steel entered Todd's voice. Krista had never heard him speak to Raphael that way. Separating us does not help the healing. It weakens it. You are biased, Raphael replied. You've become attached to her. Given what you have endured together, that is understandable. But attachment can cloud judgment. Raphael indicated Amy. Miss Jang has offered to continue the healing until Miss Bass recovers. She has the same bloodline, the same magic. There is no reason she cannot. The mate bond. Todd's words stopped everyone. Raphael stared at his son. Amy's pleasant expression cracked for one instant. Something ugly flashed beneath it before she controlled herself again. Mate bond, Raphael repeated. Todd, you have no wolf. You cannot form a mate bond without. The magic did it. Todd spoke before he could finish. Or perhaps it was always there and the curse prevented me from feeling it. I don't know. He looked at Krista. But I know what I feel. Then he faced his father. Krista is my mate. Amy's jaw tightened. The moon goddess herself could not have chosen better. This is impossible, Amy said sharply. Everyone looked at her. Mate bonds are sacred. They cannot simply be manufactured through healing magic. What you are experiencing could be temporary. Amy's gaze moved to Krista. A side effect of the rituals. When the curse breaks, the connection may disappear. You don't know that, Krista said. None of us understand this. Exactly, Raphael replied. That is why caution is necessary. Todd stared at him. If the bond is real, it should remain even if Krista rests for several weeks while Miss Jang handles the healing. And if the bond disappears? Raphael's expression hardened. Then we will know before you make declarations that could affect the entire kingdom. No. Todd's answer was flat. I will not introduce another variable into something that is already keeping me alive. He reached toward Krista. She stays. She continues the healing. That is final. Raphael's eyes flashed amber. You do not give orders to the Alpha King. His voice filled the gallery. Not even as my son. Then remove my title. Krista looked sharply at Todd. He did not back down. Strip me of being your heir. His voice shook with anger. But I will not let you separate us. Not when she is the reason I am alive. The desperation traveling through their bond struck Krista with such force that she became dizzy. Or perhaps it was simply exhaustion. Her knees weakened. Todd grabbed her immediately. Noel reached her from the other side. She's going to collapse, Noel said. Please, Alpha King. Noel looked toward Raphael. Let her recover in her current chambers. She's already close to the prince. Allow them to maintain whatever bond exists without forcing her to keep exhausting herself. Raphael looked at Krista, then Todd. Something in his expression softened. Very well. Todd's body relaxed slightly. But Miss Zhang will observe the healing. Todd immediately frowned. She will study the techniques and rituals so that if Miss Bass requires rest, we have an alternative. Father, that is my final offer. Raphael's tone allowed no argument. Accept it, or I will move Miss Bass to the opposite wing. Todd looked at Krista. She gave the smallest nod. It was not ideal, but they would remain together. Fine. Todd looked at Amy. She observes only. She does not interfere. Agreed. Raphael turned toward Amy. You will report everything objectively to me and the scholars. Amy smiled, sharp as a blade. Of course, Alpha King. The next week was torture. Amy followed Krista constantly. She watched every ritual, every movement, every use of the amulet. She filled pages with notes. Her presence made Krista uncomfortable. Worse, the healing itself seemed less responsive whenever Amy watched. The magic became sluggish, reluctant. And Krista hated the way Amy looked at Todd. Desire was there. But not only desire, ambition. She wants him, Noel whispered one evening as she helped Krista dress. Not because she loves him. Noel fastened another button. She wants what standing beside him would make her. He isn't available. Krista tried unsuccessfully to keep jealousy from her voice. Perhaps someone should explain that to Amy. Noel sighed. She has been asking the servants questions about you. What questions? Whether the mate bond is real. What people think about you and Todd. Krista looked at herself in the mirror. What are they saying? Noel hesitated. Some believe it completely. And the others? Noel said nothing. They think I'm a desperate wolfless commoner trying to trap a prince. I don't. Noel's response was immediate. And neither does anyone who has actually watched the two of you. She touched Krista's shoulder. The bond is obvious. But Krista stared at her reflection. Was it? Some color had returned to her face. She was stronger than she had been after collapsing. Yet she still looked exactly like what she was. A common woman wearing royal clothing. Amy looked born for this world. Educated, polished, confident. Stop it, Noel said. Krista blinked. You're spiraling again. Noel met her eyes in the mirror. The prince chose you. The magic chose you. That is what matters. Krista wanted to believe her. Then she entered Todd's room for the evening ritual and found Amy already there, laughing. Todd had apparently said something amusing. Doubt returned immediately. Krista. Todd's attention shifted toward her the instant she appeared. I was telling Amy about another dream I had last night. Another memory, perhaps, Amy said pleasantly. The mind is remarkable. She looked at Todd. I would love to discuss these dreams in greater detail during tomorrow's observation session. Perhaps, Todd said without enthusiasm. Then he looked at Krista. Are you ready? Krista nodded. She sat in her usual place on the edge of the bed. Amy settled into a chair in the corner. Notebook ready. Eyes alert. Krista tried to forget she was there. She focused on Todd. On the amulet. On the warmth between them. Then she sang. The first words felt wrong. Clumsy. Power that usually flowed like water caught inside her. Stopped. Started. Caught again. Todd's brow furrowed. Concern traveled through the bond. It's fine, Krista whispered between verses. I'm just tired. But it was not fine. A ritual that normally lasted 20 minutes stretched toward 40. By the end, Krista was gasping. Sweat covered her forehead. The amulet had barely glowed. Interesting, Amy said. Her pen moved quickly. The effectiveness appears to be declining. Todd glared at her. Amy ignored him. How much of your own life force would you estimate you transfer each time? I don't know. Krista wiped her forehead with a trembling hand. And you've been performing these rituals twice a day for almost 3 weeks? Yes. Amy looked at Todd. No wonder she's exhausted. What are you suggesting? Todd asked. The Bass healing gift was never designed for this kind of sustained transfer. Amy's voice became clinical. It was meant to heal a wound, treat an illness, intervene during a crisis. What Krista is doing is different. She looked directly at Krista. She is pouring herself into you little by little until either the curse breaks, Amy paused, or she runs out. That isn't, Krista began. Isn't it? Amy's gaze swept over her. Look at yourself. You are becoming weaker. Another month of this could leave you bedridden. Another 3 could kill you. Todd's grip tightened around Krista's hand. Is that what you want? Amy asked. To die for a prince you've known only a few weeks? I know him. Krista's voice sharpened. Better than you ever will. Do you? Amy lifted one brow. You met under extraordinary conditions. He needed healing. You needed a purpose. Amy. Todd's voice became cold. That is enough. I am being honest. Amy spread her hands. Your father specifically ordered me to observe objectively. And objectively, I see a healing method that is destroying the healer. She looked toward Krista. There are safer methods. Slower, perhaps, but safer. Amy leaned forward. I could teach you. We could divide the burden. 2 healers instead of 1. It was logical, reasonable. Yet every instinct inside Krista screamed against it. The bond, Krista said. Todd and I are connected. If you interfere, or perhaps sharing the work would preserve the bond by keeping you alive. Amy's words struck hard. A mate bond is useless if one mate dies. Todd's hand tightened around Krista's. What do you actually want, Amy? Amy went still. Todd's voice was quiet. This sudden concern for Krista's health doesn't feel genuine. For one instant, Amy's mask slipped. Something cold appeared underneath. My goal is to heal you, Prince Todd. Her expression became composed again. By whatever method is necessary. If that means working with Krista, good. If it means replacing her when she burns herself out, I am prepared for that too. Amy closed her notebook. What I will not do is allow a viable cure to fail because 2 desperate people convince themselves they are fated mates. Get out. Todd's voice was nearly a whisper. Absolute authority filled it. Amy stared at him. Get out of my chambers. She stood gracefully. As you wish, Your Highness. She moved toward the door, then stopped. Oh, Krista. Krista looked at her. You should examine your palm, the one you cut during the blood ritual. Amy's expression was unreadable. I noticed something concerning. Then she left. Krista immediately turned her palm upward. The wound had healed, but something remained. A thin black line ran beneath her skin, like a dark vein spreading from the place where the cut had been. As Krista watched, it pulsed. Once. In rhythm with her heart. Todd sat forward. What is that? I don't know. Cold traveled down Krista's spine. The mark felt wrong, like something had rooted itself beneath her skin. We need Gale, Todd said. He started toward the door. Krista followed. Then the mark pulsed again, and memory slammed into her. Not her memory. Something older. Something carried inside the bloodline itself. Blood given freely breaks the curse. Blood given in desperation feeds it. Krista stopped moving. She had given her blood in terror, in desperation, because she thought Todd was dying. She had not acted from calm, healing intent. She had panicked, and somehow she had tied herself to the curse differently than before, not simply as Todd's healer, as something else, something far more dangerous. Amy had been right about one thing. Krista was running out of time. But the healing was not what threatened to kill her. The curse had found another host. Chapter 6. The Terrible Truth. The scholars gathered around Krista in Raphael's private study. She stood in the center of the room with her palm extended. Gale Hudson leaned close. Her gray eyes narrowed as she examined the black line. Other scholars murmured to one another. Their concern grew with every passing moment. "This is dark magic," said one of the younger scholars, Jay Spence. "Corruption." He sounded frightened. "That should be impossible. Fast healing magic is light-based." "No." Gale leaned closer without touching the mark. "Not corruption." Her face became grim. "Transference." Krista's stomach tightened. "When you used your blood in the ritual," Gale asked, "what were you feeling?" "Terror." Krista did not hesitate. "Todd was dying." "The normal healing wasn't enough. I was desperate." Gale nodded slowly. "And you cut yourself without preparation." "Yes." "Without protective measures." "Yes." "Without understanding what blood would do." "Yes." Gale straightened. "Bass magic requires emotional clarity." She looked directly at Krista. "Calm. Compassion. Pure intent. Instead, you gave it fear and desperation." Todd stood immediately behind Krista, one hand resting protectively on her shoulder. "What does that mean?" His voice was tense. "What did she do?" "She opened a door." Gale's expression darkened. "The curse is intelligent in the way ancient magic can be intelligent." Krista felt Todd's fingers tighten. It has spent 19 years trying to destroy Todd. Then Krista began breaking it apart, dissolving it. So the curse adapted. Gale looked down at the mark. When Krista used blood while terrified, it found an opportunity. A new host. The room went silent. Todd's face drained of color. "You're saying it left me and entered her?" "No." Gale shook her head. "It did not leave you. It expanded. It is still inside Todd. And now it is inside Krista too." Krista barely breathed, feeding on her life force, using her own healing magic against her. Todd stared at Gale. "The more she heals you, the more power the curse gains inside her." Krista already understood what came next. "Eventually," her voice shook. Gale looked at her with sorrow. "Eventually it will consume you. Your healing gift will become corrupted by the curse. And once that happens, you won't be able to help Todd at all. The curse wins." Raphael's expression hardened. "How long?" Gale examined Krista's arm. "The spread is still slow." She calculated silently. "At this rate, approximately 6 weeks before it reaches her heart." "And then?" No one answered. No one needed to. Todd moved closer to Krista. "Then remove it." Gale looked toward him. "Cut away whatever part contains it. Burn it. Do whatever you need." "It is not a physical wound," Jay said. "The mark is only the visible manifestation." Todd glared. "The corruption is woven through her life force." Jay swallowed. "Removing it would kill her." Silence again. Todd's control broke. "Then what are we supposed to do?" Krista felt the anguish traveling through their bond. It hurt almost as much as her own fear. Gale exchanged a look with the other scholars. "There are 2 possibilities." Todd waited. "First, Krista stops healing you." "No." Krista and Todd spoke simultaneously. Gale continued anyway. "If she stops introducing new magic, the corruption may stop spreading. It will not disappear, but it could give us time." "No." Krista shook her head. "If I stop, his curse will surge again. He could die. I won't risk that." "Then the second option." Gale's expression became heavier. "You finish the healing immediately." Raphael frowned. "How?" "One enormous ritual." Gale looked from Todd to Krista. "Instead of weakening the curse gradually, Krista channels everything she has at once and destroys it completely, before it can take control of her." "And the mark?" "If the curse is destroyed in Todd, the part inside Krista should also die." Todd looked suspicious. "What is the cost?" Gale did not answer immediately. Raphael understood. "Dangerous?" "Extremely." Gale finally nodded. "The ritual may require everything Krista possesses." "Every drop of magic." "Possibly." Krista finished for her. "My life." The words came surprisingly easily. She had always known Todd's healing could cost her everything. She had simply hoped it would not. Not necessarily, Gale said, but the uncertainty in her voice was obvious. If the mate bond is genuine, it may sustain you. Todd looked at her. Explain. Mate bonds flow in both directions. Gale gestured between them. Krista would pour her life force into breaking the curse. But if Todd's wolf awakens fully during the ritual, his side of the bond might send that energy back. He might pull her away from death. Might. Todd's laugh held no humor. That's an enormous amount of uncertainty for her life. It's the only path. Krista turned toward him. She took both his hands. The dark mark on her palm touched his skin. Todd, no. Listen. I don't want to live if saving me kills you. You don't get to decide that. His eyes flashed. I do. Krista tried to smile. And I choose this. Krista, if we do nothing, the curse kills you. She forced herself to continue. Then it consumes me. We both die. Her fingers tightened around his. With the ritual, at least you have a chance. I don't want that chance without you. There may be another possibility. Everyone turned. Amy Jang stood in the doorway. No one had heard her arrive. Raphael frowned. Miss Jang, this is a private meeting. I apologize, Alpha King. Amy entered. But I heard enough to understand the problem. Her expression was carefully sympathetic. What if two healers perform the final ritual? The scholars began looking at one another. Amy continued. Krista would remain the primary healer because the mate bond connects her to Todd. I would support her. Stabilize her magic. Share part of the burden. And perhaps prevent her life force from falling low enough to kill her. Gale's expression turned thoughtful. It is possible. Krista looked at her. Base healing can be performed collaboratively. Gale nodded slowly. It is rare, but possible. The primary healer would still carry most of the drain. Jay looked toward Amy. But a secondary healer might keep Krista stable. Then we do it, Raphael said. His decision came instantly. Amy assists Krista. That is an order. Father, Todd protested. We don't know if we can trust her. Yet Krista felt his conflict through the bond. He mistrusted Amy. But any possibility of Krista surviving tempted him. Trust me or don't, Amy said calmly. I am still a healer. I swore an oath to preserve life. She looked at Krista. I will not allow her to die if I can prevent it. Krista studied Amy. Was any of it genuine? Or was Amy still maneuvering toward Todd? Krista could not tell, but the alternative was attempting the ritual alone, and almost certainly dying. When? Krista asked. As soon as possible, Gale replied. She inspected the dark line again. The curse is spreading every day. We should prepare for approximately 1 week. 2 at the absolute most. Then we prepare, Raphael said. He turned toward the scholars. Document everything. Every reference to the curse. Base healing. Mate bonds. Nothing is left to chance. Then he faced Amy. You work with Krista. Learn how her method functions. Synchronize your magic. Finally, Raphael looked toward Todd. His expression softened. Spend time with her. Todd's grip tightened around Krista's hand. If the mate bond is what might save her, strengthen it. The following week passed beneath a cloud of preparation and dread. Every morning, Krista trained with Amy. To Krista's surprise, Amy was an excellent teacher, patient, knowledgeable, focused. They practiced channeling magic through the amulet together. Hour after hour, they learned to harmonize their power like two voices singing the same song. Your method is raw, Amy told Krista one afternoon, but extremely powerful. Krista looked over. You depend almost entirely on emotion. How else would I do it? I was taught precision. Amy adjusted Krista's hand position. Structure. Control. Your approach works. She studied Krista. But it exhausts you. I never received training. Krista touched the amulet. My mother gave me the lullaby, that's all. She taught you more than you realize. Amy's voice softened. The lullaby is one of the oldest forms of bass healing. Pure, unfiltered. Most surviving branches developed structured methods because they're easier to control. She paused. But the original way still possesses something ours lost. Krista looked at her. Amy became quiet. I owe you an apology. For what? How I behaved when I arrived. Krista waited. I was dismissive. Competitive. Amy looked uncomfortable. I treated you as an obstacle rather than another healer. Why? Jealousy. The answer surprised Krista. You had accomplished something I was taught could not happen. A mate bond formed through magic. And in the process, you gained the love of a prince. Amy looked away. It made me feel inadequate. You're not inadequate. Krista's answer came without calculation. You're brilliant. Educated. You understand things I've never learned. Everything I'm not. Amy gave a faint smile. And still, you are the woman he loves. Her gaze returned to Krista. That must mean something. Afternoons belonged to Todd. As his strength increased, they began walking through the castle gardens. His steps became steadier every day. They talked about his childhood, the isolation of being different, the fear that he might die before ever having truly lived. Krista told him about her own dreams. They were small. A quiet cottage, a garden, perhaps a dog for company. Todd looked almost sad. That's all? It always sounded like more than I would ever have. Krista smiled weakly. For years I thought my entire life would be surviving one day after another inside a pack that did not want me. Now? Krista looked at him. Now I have purpose. She hesitated. I have... What? Todd's question was gentle. You. Krista's voice softened. I have you. She looked away. Even if only for a little while. Todd stopped walking. They stood among late-blooming roses. What if I told you that you could have more than a cottage? Krista looked at him. A castle. Todd stepped closer. A kingdom. A title. Her heartbeat quickened. What are you saying? What if I asked you to become my princess? Krista stopped breathing. My mate officially. Todd's eyes held hers. Recognized by law. Recognized by the kingdom. Todd, I'm serious. He took her hands. After the ritual, when the curse is gone, when you're healed, I want you to stay. Not as my healer. His grip tightened. As my partner. My equal. The person I choose. Your father will never permit it. Hope hurt more than fear. My father wants me alive. Todd smiled faintly. You will have accomplished that. How could he deny me the person who gave me that life? He cupped her face. Say yes. Krista's eyes filled. Promise you'll survive. Then say yes. She should have refused. Her birth, her supposed barrenness, the political consequences. There were endless reasons, but Todd's storm-gray eyes were in front of her, and the mate bond sang between them. Yes. Todd barely moved. If I survive, she smiled through tears. Yes. Todd kissed her, gentle, desperate. Full of promises neither knew if they would have time to fulfill. Against Krista's chest, the amulet glowed warmly. When they separated, Todd rested his forehead against hers. You will survive. We don't know that. I do. Your wolf hasn't completely emerged yet. Todd's expression never changed. I'll find you through the bond. His voice became absolute. I will pull you back from death itself if I have to. Todd, love will guide me. He held her face between his hands. I won't lose you when I only just found you. The night before the ritual, Krista could not sleep. She stood at her window. Moonlight covered the castle grounds. She thought about everything that had brought her there. A year earlier, she had been a rejected woman counting empty days. Now she was preparing to risk everything for a prince she loved. A curse she might break. A purpose that made every previous wound feel different. Worth it, she whispered. Whatever happens tomorrow. She looked at the moon. It was worth it. Someone knocked. Come in. Krista expected Noel. Perhaps Todd. Instead, Amy entered carrying a bottle of wine. I couldn't sleep either. Amy held it up. I thought you might want company, then smiled. And liquid courage. Despite everything, Krista laughed. That sounds perfect. They sat before the fire. They passed the bottle between them. For one night, they spoke more like old friends than former rivals. Amy talked about her training, the endless pressure to be perfect, the fear that even perfection would never make her enough. Krista spoke about Lester. Bernard. Her rejection. The years of slowly dying inside while everyone around her continued living. You're brave, Amy said after a long silence. Braver than I am. Krista looked at her. I don't know if I could do what you're doing tomorrow. You'll be there with me. As support. Amy lowered her eyes. You're the one risking everything. Your life. Your magic. Your future. She shook her head. For a man you've known 1 month. That isn't logic. It isn't duty. Amy looked directly at Krista. That is love. Krista stared into the fire. I never thought I would love anyone after Lester. I thought that part of me was broken too. But Todd? A smile formed without her intending it. He makes me want to try. To hope. To believe that happy endings might actually exist. Then we make sure you get one, Amy said. She lifted the bottle. To tomorrow. Krista lifted it too. To breaking curses. To proving love is stronger than hatred. To tomorrow. Their bottles touched. They drank until nothing remained. Eventually the fire burned low. Krista fell asleep curled in her chair. Amy stood over her. She placed a blanket across Krista's body. Then she whispered 2 words. I'm sorry. Krista never heard them. She woke to chaos. Noel was shaking her. Miss Krista. Krista's head pounded. Wake up. What? Something is wrong. Noel's face was pale. The prince. Krista became fully alert. What about him? He's collapsing. The curse is worse than ever. Krista pushed herself upright. How? The ritual isn't until this afternoon. I don't know. Noel grabbed her arm. But you need to come. Krista ran through the corridors in her nightgown. She did not care who saw. Todd's room was filled with panic. He lay convulsing on the floor. His body shifted violently between forms. Black veins spread beneath his skin. They looked exactly like the mark on Krista's palm. What happened? She dropped beside him. We don't know. Raphael's control was barely holding. He was fine last night. This morning he woke like this. The curse is attacking before we can perform the ritual. Krista placed her marked hand against Todd's chest. She tried to send calming magic into him. Instead, the power reversed. It pulled inward. Todd's eyes opened. Amber. His hand shot upward. He seized Krista's wrist with impossible strength. Mine. The voice did not sound entirely like Todd. The curse demands payment. Krista froze. Blood for blood. Life for life. Understanding came like ice. Amy. Everyone looked at her. Where is Amy? Gail appeared at the doorway. She left early. Krista's heart dropped. She said she needed supplies for the ritual. Gail frowned. Why? The wine. Their conversation. Amy's apology. I'm sorry. Krista had not heard it then. Now the meaning was impossible to miss. She did something. Raphael stared. What? The wine. Krista's voice shook. She poisoned it. Cursed it. Something. Horror spread through her. She accelerated the curse. Why? Raphael demanded the answer. Why would she do that? Krista looked at Todd. Because she wants him. If I die breaking the curse, Amy becomes the perfect person to remain beside him. A healer. A woman his father already approves. Krista swallowed. Eventually, perhaps his mate. Todd's hand tightened around her wrist. The curse began pulling harder at Krista's energy. She gasped. The black mark raced farther up her arm. We have to perform the ritual now, Gale said. Krista looked at her. But Amy isn't here. Her voice broke. There is no secondary healer. I'll die. Perhaps not. Gale moved closer. If the mate bond is genuine, if it is strong enough, it may sustain you. How much time does Todd have? Minutes. Gale looked at him. If he dies, the curse consumes you anyway. Krista stared at Todd's face. She felt his pain, his love, his fear, his regret. All of it moved through their bond. This was not how the final ritual was supposed to happen. She was supposed to prepare. She was supposed to have time. Time to say goodbye if she needed to. Time to make peace with death. But life had never cared about Krista's plans. Do it. Gale looked at her. Bring the amulet. Krista's voice became steady. Bring every scholar. She looked down at Todd. I'll sing the lullaby one last time. Her fingers tightened around his. And pray love really is stronger than death. Chapter 7. When love breaks ancient magic. They carried Todd into the great hall. It was the largest open chamber in the castle. A vaulted ceiling towered overhead, painted with constellations and ancient wolf legends. The scholars moved frantically. Chalk and salt formed symbols across the floor. Candles were placed in intricate patterns. Protection prayers filled the hall in languages so old that even the scholars barely understood them. At the center of the ritual circle, Krista knelt beside Todd. She held the amulet between both hands. The black mark had already passed her elbow. Dark lines climbed her arm like poisoned roots. Krista could feel them reaching for her heart. Todd's convulsions had weakened. That frightened her more. His breathing had become shallow, his skin cold. Both of them were dying. The curse was winning. The ritual requires complete honesty, Gale said. She knelt beside Krista. No barriers between you. No walls. No secrets. No protection. Krista looked toward Todd. The mate bond must become a completely open channel. Gale continued. Your life force goes into him. His awakened wolf must return power to you. But only if you both surrender completely. I don't know how. Krista's voice trembled. Yes, you do. Gale's answer was gentle. You've been doing it since you met. Every time you sang. Every conversation in the darkness. Every moment you chose to feel rather than hide. Gale touched her shoulder. This is simply the final step. Let go. Raphael approached. For the first time since Krista had met him, the Alpha King looked old, exhausted, terrified. Krista. She looked up. If this fails. His voice nearly broke. If you die. Todd's father struggled for control. I want you to know that I am grateful. For everything you gave my son. For giving him hope when he had none. For loving him when the world made him believe he was unlovable. He was always lovable, Krista whispered. Raphael's eyes glistened. The world was simply blind. He nodded, then stepped away. The scholars took their places. Noelle stood among the servants. Tears streamed down her face. Krista looked around. Nearly the entire castle had gathered. They had come to witness a 500-year-old curse end, or to watch two broken people die while trying. Ready? Gale asked. Krista looked at Todd. His eyes were closed. His face almost peaceful despite the darkness beneath his skin. She pressed her marked palm over his heart. A weak beat answered beneath it. I love you. Her voice was soft. If you can hear me. Krista swallowed. If this is goodbye, I need you to know that loving you was the best thing I ever did. Todd remained still. The only thing in my life that ever made complete sense. Tears blurred her vision. Thank you for seeing me. For choosing me. For making me believe I was worth saving too. Krista placed the amulet over their joined hands. She closed her eyes. Then began to sing. The lullaby started softly. Ancient words flowed through the hall. Like water. Like prayer. Like the final breath before drowning. But this time Krista held nothing back. Every fear. Every hope. Every memory. Every piece of love she possessed. Todd smiling. Todd teasing her. Todd's storm-gray eyes finding hers across a room. Todd telling her she mattered. Todd promising that they would survive together. She poured all of it into the song. The amulet began glowing, brighter than ever before. Light flooded the great hall until the chamber turned white as noon. Krista felt her life leaving her. Not slowly. A flood. Everything rushing into Todd. The black mark along her arm pulsed violently. The curse fought. Krista sang louder. Light pushed against darkness. The curse shrieked. Not metaphorically. An actual sound ripped through the hall. High. Furious. Krista felt the poison inside Todd burning away. Dissolving beneath her magic. She felt it dying. But Krista was dying too. Darkness entered her vision. Her heartbeat slowed. Breathing became difficult. Worth it. The thought floated through her fading consciousness. Todd is alive. That is what matters. Then Todd's hand moved. His fingers closed around hers. Hard. His eyes opened. Not gray. Blazing amber. Wolf eyes. No. Todd's voice came doubled. Man and wolf. You do not leave me. Krista could not speak. The darkness pressed closer. Not like this. Todd sat up. He should not have possessed the strength, but he pulled Krista against him. The bond goes both ways. His voice vibrated through her. You gave me your life. Todd held her tighter. Now I give you mine. His body began shifting. Truly shifting. Bones broke and reformed. Black fur rolled across his skin. His body expanded. The transformation was violent, terrible, beautiful. Within seconds, a massive black wolf stood in Todd's place, twice the size of an ordinary shifter. Amber eyes burned with ancient power. The wolf lifted its head, howled. The sound shook the hall, and deep inside Krista, something answered, something in the place she had always believed was empty. Something wild, something that had been silent all her life. Your wolf. Todd's voice appeared inside her mind. Yet another presence seemed to speak with him. Older. Primal. Krista could barely understand. It was always there, sleeping, waiting for me to wake it. The enormous black wolf lowered his head and pressed it against Krista's chest. Power flooded her. Not the same life force she had poured into him. Something new. Something that belonged to both of them. The mate bond became fully alive. An endless circuit of energy. Her power into Todd. Todd's back into her. Two lives refusing to let the other disappear. The black mark on Krista's arm cracked. Like breaking glass. It shattered apart and fell as ash. The curse inside her screamed. Then died. It could not survive the combined strength of two souls bound together. Krista gasped. Because suddenly her own bones began moving. No. Fear overwhelmed her. I can't. She felt her body changing. I'm wolfless. I've always been wolfless. Todd's voice filled her mind. You were never truly empty. You were a healer. The Bass bloodline chose healing over shifting, but the mate bond does not care about choices made centuries before we were born. Pain exploded through Krista. It makes us equal. Another bone shifted. It makes us whole. The transformation hurt worse than anything Krista had ever known. Every bone seemed to break and reshape at once. She tried to scream. The sound leaving her throat no longer belonged entirely to a human woman. Then suddenly, It stopped. Krista stood on 4 legs. Silver-white fur covered her body. It gleamed beneath the fading light of the amulet. The world exploded with sensation. She could smell the salt and chalk, the sweat of the crowd, the final traces of the curse evaporating into nothing. She heard scholars gasping prayers, Noel sobbing with joy, Raphael standing completely silent, but above all, Krista felt Todd. The mate bond had become almost visible. Golden threads seemed to coil around their wolf forms, joining them. "Hello, mate," Todd's voice purred inside her mind. Love, relief, triumph. Krista was too stunned to answer properly. "Hello." Todd's black wolf moved closer. He rubbed against her silver coat. For the first time in Krista's entire life, she felt complete. Not because she finally possessed a wolf. Not because anyone else had declared her worthy. She simply felt like herself. Whole. Enough. The amulet cracked. Right down the center. 2 perfect halves fell to the floor. The light trapped within it scattered through the hall like fireflies. It settled over the witnesses. A final blessing. The curse was broken. Not controlled. Not weakened. Destroyed. 5 centuries of suffering ended. Slowly, Krista shifted back. The return felt easier, almost natural, as if her body had always known how to be both woman and wolf. Todd became human beside her. They knelt in the center of the circle, exhausted, alive. Todd pulled her into his arms. "You did it." His voice shook. "You broke it. You saved both of us." "We saved each other," Krista corrected. She buried her face against his shoulder, then began sobbing. Relief, joy, disbelief. "Todd." She laughed through tears. "I have a wolf." He kissed her hair. "I have a wolf. She was there all this time." Todd kissed her forehead. "Sleeping. And you woke her." "She's beautiful." He kissed her tear-wet cheek. "You're beautiful. All of you." He held her face. "My mate. My healer. My salvation." Krista remembered something. "Your princess?" Todd froze. If that offer still exists. His expression changed completely. "The offer exists until the day I die." He cupped her face. "And then I'll probably find you in the next life and ask again." Krista laughed. "Krista Bass." Todd's expression became serious. "Will you be my mate? My partner? My equal in everything?" Tears returned. "Will you stand beside me while I become the prince I should have been? Will you help me build a kingdom where being different is not treated like a curse?" "Yes." Her answer came instantly. "Yes to all of it." Todd pulled her close again. "They waited centuries for us to meet," he whispered. "The curse kept our families apart, but it couldn't stop us forever." Krista rested against him. "Do you really believe in destiny? Or do you think we were lucky?" Todd considered it. "I think destiny is what we do with the opportunities placed in front of us." He brushed hair from her face. "You could have run when your father brought you here. You could have accepted gold and disappeared. You stayed. You fought. You believed in us when everyone else saw reasons we should fail." Todd smiled. "That isn't luck. That is choice." He kissed her forehead. "The best choice either of us ever made." Krista pressed closer. She breathed in his familiar scent. Pine. Leather. And something that was simply Todd. "I love you." He looked down. "I know I said it during the ritual." Krista smiled through tears. "But I want you to hear it while I'm completely conscious. I love you, Todd Hawkins. Wolf or wolfless. Cursed or free. I would choose you every time. I love you too." Todd tightened his arms. "My healer. My silver wolf. My mate." They fell asleep together. The bond glowed quietly between them in the darkness. Outside the castle, a full moon rose. And morning would bring the first day of everything that came next. Chapter 8. The Healing Temple. 1 year later, the Royal Healing Temple stood on the eastern edge of the castle grounds. White stone gleamed beneath the morning sun. The temple had been Krista's idea, a place for anyone who had been called broken, defective, worthless, a place where they could learn that difference did not mean failure. Krista stood in the main hall watching a group of children practice shifting exercises. Under the old ways, many of them would have been labeled wolfless. Some shifted slowly, some only partially. Others had never shifted at all. Krista refused to let those labels define them. "Remember," she called. The children looked toward her. "Power is not measured by how quickly you shift, or how completely." She walked between them. "Your power begins with knowing who you are, and refusing to allow anyone else to decide your worth." A little girl raised her hand. She was perhaps 7. Bright red hair. Freckles. "Miss Krista?" "Yes?" "What if my wolf never comes?" The child's voice trembled. "What if I'm broken forever?" Krista knelt beside her. She recognized the fear. She had carried the same fear for 24 years. "Then you find your other gifts." The girl stared at her. "Other strengths." Krista smiled. "My wolf did not appear until I was 24. Several children looked surprised. "And do you know what happened before that?" The girl shook her head. "I survived." Krista touched her gently on the shoulder. "I learned. I healed. I found purpose in things that had nothing to do with shifting. And when my wolf eventually came, she was stronger for having waited. But everyone says, everyone can be wrong." Krista stood. She addressed the entire group. "The world will tell you what you are supposed to be, how you should look, how quickly you should shift, what should make you valuable." She shook her head. "The world does not get that decision. You do." Each child watched her. "You possess gifts no one else possesses exactly as you do. You are who you are meant to be. And anyone who tells you that makes you worthless is lying." The children nodded solemnly. Warmth filled Krista. Every time one of them believed her, she felt as though another part of her own childhood healed. "All right," she clapped her hands. "Let's try the meditation again." The children settled. "Close your eyes. Breathe. Feel for your wolf, but don't force anything." Krista softened her voice. "Listen. Sometimes wolves speak in whispers before they learn how to roar." Arms wrapped around her waist from behind. Krista smiled before turning. She already knew who it was. Todd rested his chin against her shoulder. "You're incredible with them." He kissed her temple. "They listen to every word. They need someone to believe in them. The way you believed in me?" Krista turned inside his arms. "The way we believed in each other." Todd smiled. Then his expression became concerned. "How are you feeling?" Krista knew what he meant. "Any nausea?" Her hand moved instinctively toward her stomach. Still mostly flat. "Not for much longer." "A little." She smiled. "The healer says everything is progressing exactly as it should." Todd's entire face changed. The same wonder appeared every time they discussed the pregnancy. A month had passed since Krista had discovered the impossible. She was pregnant. The woman who had been told for years that she was barren was going to become a mother. "It still feels like a miracle," Todd said. His hand covered hers over her stomach. "Every morning I wake and have to remind myself this is real. You're real." His smile widened. "And we're having a child." Perhaps breaking the curse healed that part of me too. Krista still did not understand it. Or the mate bond. Or perhaps you were never barren. Krista looked at him. Todd shrugged. "Think about it. The pack healer examined you after your first shift failed, and after Lester rejected you. She saw a wolfless woman, and may have found exactly what she expected to find, perhaps." Krista considered it. In the end, the explanation mattered less than the reality beneath her hand. Life, growing inside her, a dream she had never allowed herself to dream. "Miss Krista?" An older student approached. "Curtis Brady." He looked uneasy. There's someone here asking for you. Who? A woman. Curtis hesitated. She says she's a bass. Krista's breath caught. Since the curse ended, several hidden branches of the Bass family had emerged. People who had concealed their ancestry for centuries now knew they could claim it safely. But something in Curtis's expression made Krista cautious. Bring her in. The woman who entered was small and elderly. White hair had been pulled into a severe bun. Her eyes were so pale they almost lacked color. Krista stared. Then recognition hit. A portrait. One her mother had kept hidden. A woman Krista had been told died when she was an infant. Grandmother? The woman stopped. Hello, child. Her voice was dry and thin. Krista could barely process what she was seeing. I'm sorry for the deception. You're alive. I have been alive all this time. Krista stared. Living in hiding. The old woman continued. Waiting for the proper moment to reveal myself. Why? Anger rose beneath Krista's confusion. Why let me believe you were dead? Why let me believe I had no family? Why let me suffer alone? Her grandmother's expression did not change. Because you needed to become desperate. The words hit like a slap. What? The curse could only be broken by someone with nothing left to lose. Krista stopped breathing. Someone broken enough that healing another person became the only purpose available. Todd stepped closer behind Krista. If you had known you still had family, the grandmother continued. Support, alternatives. Her pale eyes remained fixed on Krista. You might never have been willing to sacrifice everything for the prince. The casual cruelty stole Krista's voice. You manipulated me. The grandmother did not deny it. You let me believe I was worthless so I would be easier to sacrifice. I ensured the curse was broken. The old woman's voice sharpened. 500 years of suffering ended because you were willing to give everything. You should be proud. Get out. Todd's voice became colder than Krista had ever heard it. The grandmother looked toward him. Leave this temple. Todd stepped between them. And leave these grounds. Krista owes you nothing. She owes me everything, the grandmother snapped. I am the reason. You are the reason she spent 24 years believing she was defective. Todd's anger filled the room. You are the reason she was rejected, abused, sold. Whatever noble purpose you tell yourself you had does not erase what you allowed to happen. He pointed toward the doors. Leave, or I will have you removed. Krista's grandmother looked at her, clearly expecting Krista to intervene. Krista simply stared. This woman had watched a child suffer because she believed that suffering served a larger plan. Krista searched inside herself for rage. What she found was pity. He's right. Her grandmother stiffened. You used me. Manipulated me. Krista paused. But strangely, I am still grateful. Todd turned toward her. Because everything eventually led me here. Krista looked around the temple. To Todd. To my wolf. To these children. To a life where I can prevent someone else from feeling as alone as I did. She met her grandmother's pale eyes. You thought you were controlling my destiny. But all you really did was push me toward the place I chose to make my own. Krista took a breath. So thank you, I suppose. Her voice became final. And goodbye. Her grandmother's face twisted. She left without speaking again. The moment the doors closed, Krista sagged against Todd. Her entire body trembled. That was remarkably restrained, Todd murmured. His arms closed around her. I was prepared to shift and chase her myself. She isn't worth the energy. Krista breathed slowly. And she was wrong. About what? I didn't break the curse because I had nothing left to lose. Krista looked up at him. I broke it because I finally had everything to gain. A life worth living, a person worth dying for, a future worth fighting for. Well said. A familiar voice came from the doorway. Gale Hudson entered. Several scholars followed, carrying books and scrolls. And speaking of your future, Gale smiled. We have been studying your pregnancy. Krista immediately became nervous. Why? Because of the unusual circumstances. Gale began counting them. The curse breaking. Your late wolf emergence. The mate bond. We wanted to ensure there would be no complications. And? Krista's hand went to her stomach. And you are fine. Relief almost made her knees weaken. Better than fine. Gale smiled. The baby is healthy. Developing exactly as expected. Todd exhaled beside her. But we discovered something interesting. Gale opened an ancient text. The Bass healing bloodline was not originally limited to women. Krista frowned. In the earliest records, before the curse, both men and women possessed healing abilities. What changed? Todd asked. The curse. Gale pointed toward a passage. The restriction to female inheritance appears to have been a side effect. A way for the surviving Bass line to slowly disappear. Todd's eyes widened. But the curse is gone. Exactly. Gale smiled. Which means your child, regardless of sex, may inherit the healing gift. Krista looked down at her stomach. A son could become a healer? The first male Bass healer in 5 centuries. Gale nodded. Or your child may possess both a wolf and healing magic. Something no Bass has carried since before the curse. Krista's breath caught. Both? It's possible. Gale closed the book. We will not know until the child is born. But the old records show it happened. The Bass family was always meant to possess multiple forms of strength. The curse restricted those possibilities. Gale looked between Todd and Krista. Your child represents what comes after. A beginning. The restoration of what was lost. After the scholars left, Krista and Todd walked through the temple gardens. Evening approached. Orange and pink colored the sky. They stopped beside a memorial Krista had built. A simple stone carved with the names of every known Bass healer killed during the massacre 500 years earlier. Todd read the names. They would be proud of you. Krista looked toward him. Of this place. Of what you turned their tragedy into. I hope so. She rested a hand against the stone. Sometimes I wonder. About what? Whether breaking the curse was a betrayal. Todd frowned. Your family destroyed mine. Krista spoke softly. Mine cursed yours. Breaking it meant forgiving something terrible. Someone might say I betrayed the people who died. Someone might call it wisdom, Todd replied. Krista looked at him. The curse kept both families suffering. Todd gestured toward the memorial. Breaking it freed mine from wolflessness. And yours from centuries of hiding. That isn't betrayal. He took her hand. That is healing at the deepest level. They continued toward the back of the temple grounds. A small cottage stood there. Their private home. Away from the politics and formality of the castle. Simple. Quiet. With a garden Krista cared for herself. And a porch where she and Todd often watched the sunset. Todd looked around as they climbed the steps. You got the cottage. And the garden. Krista laughed. Everything I wanted. Plus a prince. A castle. A temple. And a baby coming. She grinned. I may have exceeded the original plan. You deserve all of it. Todd's answer was serious. And more. He stopped. Speaking of which, his hand disappeared into his pocket. Todd removed a small velvet box. Krista stared at him. I know we are already mated. He opened it. Already recognized as married by our pack and kingdom. Inside rested a silver ring. A black stone sat at its center. Thin veins of white ran through it. Krista recognized the material immediately. The amulet? Todd smiled. I had the 2 pieces melted down and remade. Krista's eyes filled. The amulet saved us. Connected us. Brought us together. Todd lifted the ring. I wanted you to keep part of it. A reminder of where we began. And how far we came. He slid it onto her finger. The stone caught the last light of sunset. Darkness and silver, curse and healing, death and life, all reshaped into something new. I love it. Krista looked up. I love you. I love you too. Todd drew her into his arms. My broken healer. Krista raised one brow. Todd smiled. Although I suppose you were never really broken. He kissed her temple. Only becoming. Waiting for the right moment to bloom. 3 months later, the Royal Healing Temple overflowed with people. Students. Families. Scholars. Nobles. Commoners. They had gathered for the temple's first anniversary celebration. Krista stood upon a small stage. The curve of her pregnancy was now clearly visible. She looked across the crowd. A year ago, she began, I was brought to this castle as a last attempt to save a dying prince. The hall became quiet. I was wolfless, barren, rejected. Broken. Krista paused. At least, that was what everyone told me. What I believed. She looked toward her students in the front row. But I wasn't broken. I was different. Powerful in ways that did not fit the categories people around me understood. Extraordinary in my own way. She gestured toward the children. These young people have heard many of the same lies. That they are defective. That they will never be enough. That something about them makes their lives worth less. Krista's voice strengthened. Those lies end here. Being different is not a curse. It can be a gift. We will celebrate it, nurture it, and teach the world that there are 1,000 ways to be strong, 1,000 ways to be whole, 1,000 ways to be enough. Applause exploded through the temple. Krista found Todd in the crowd. Their daughter, as the healers had confirmed only recently, rested peacefully in a sling against his chest. Todd smiled at Krista. That private smile she understood without words. I'm proud of you. I love you. You're changing something. Perhaps she was. One person at a time. One child learning to believe in themselves. One family learning that difference was not defect. One kingdom learning that strength did not have only one form. After the ceremony, while celebrations continued inside the temple, Krista and Todd slipped into the gardens. They sat together on a stone bench. Their daughter rested between them. Stars appeared one by one overhead. Tell me the story again, Todd said. What story? The song. He smiled. The one your mother gave you. Krista began humming the lullaby. The ancient melody that had once carried a curse through generations. The song that had saved Todd. Awakened Krista. Connected 2 families separated by centuries of hatred. But the words were no longer exactly the same. Krista and Todd had written new verses. They had changed the song. What was broken now is mending. What was lost has now been found. What was cursed receives a blessing. Where was silence, hear the sound. Love is stronger than old hatred. Hope can bloom from ancient pain. What was shattered finds its pieces. What was lost comes home again. Their daughter stirred. Krista kissed the tiny forehead. They had chosen to name her after Krista's mother, the woman who had preserved the lullaby, who had kept the bloodline alive long enough for her daughter to reach the moment everything changed. She'll never feel broken, Todd said. His hand covered Krista's against their daughter's back. She will grow up knowing she is loved, valued, enough, exactly as she is. He smiled. Whether she has a wolf, healing magic, both, or neither, she'll know none of those things determine her worth. Yes, Krista looked toward the temple, and neither will any child who enters those doors. She leaned against Todd. We aren't only breaking curses anymore. We're breaking cycles, ending lies people have inherited for generations, teaching a different way to see strength. Todd's storm-gray eyes softened. Do you ever miss it? Miss what? The life you originally dreamed about. Todd glanced toward their cottage. Just a small home. A garden. Peace. Krista considered the question. She looked at the temple, the students, the kingdom they were slowly changing. This life was larger than anything she had imagined, more difficult, more complicated, but also more meaningful. No. Todd waited. Because I learned that peace isn't necessarily found by hiding from the world. Krista looked at him. It can come from purpose. Connection. Building something larger than yourself. She smiled. I thought I wanted to disappear into a cottage because I believed that was all I was allowed to want. But I deserve this. We deserve this. A life that matters. A love that transforms us. A legacy that survives after us. Well said, my princess. Todd kissed her temple. My mate. My partner in revolution. Krista laughed. Revolution is a dramatic word. Is it? Todd smiled. You're teaching an entire generation that their worth isn't determined by shifting